Hello, everyone. Welcome to our podcast where we dive into what makes great leaders tick. My name is Michael Tibustalenyo, your host for this podcast.
And I'm Cielo Labo, Miguel's co host. Today we're chatting about an important topic, the role of communication in conflict resolution. We'll talk about how leaders can use good communication to fix fights in teams and keep things positive and productive.
You're definitely right, Shell. To start things off, let's look at a quick scenario from a leadership class. James and Maria are working on a group project, and James wants to handle all the tech stuff because he thinks that Maria isn't skilled enough to know these technological stuff. Maria then feels undervalued and calls him out and sparking an argument that slows down the whole team. Their professor then steps in and pushes them to talk it out properly. Then they meet. Maria shares how undervalued she felt. Then James explained he just wanted quality work. But in the end, they clear up the issue and decided to team up on the tech tasks and promised a better communication and a better project quality.
Diba? It shows how simple talks can turn things around. So, first question, why do you think communication plays such a huge role in resolving conflicts, like the one between Maria and James?
I would like to say that it's everything. Because communication is like the glue that holds teams together. Without it, misunderstandings can pile up and eventually turn into resentment. And Maria and James' case, they were assuming the worst about each other's intentions. Um, when they actually talked and shared feelings to each other and explained their motives, they saw it as just a misunderstanding lang pala. There's this study na I read, it's from Harvard Business Review. It says na teams with strong communication resolve conflicts 30% faster and see higher productivity. It just basically about getting on the same page.
Yeah, I agree. And tying into that, have you ever been in a situation where active listening completely changed the direction of a conflict? How do you think it would have helped Maria and James?
Absolutely. I remember one time where my two classmates or friends were clashing over our course project's deadlines, and one was very stressed and to the point that he was frequently snapping to my other friend, and my other friend felt attacked, and I stepped in just to encourage them to listen without interrupting each other. And my stressed friend explained na it it was just na it's just na their workload was too much and he was just very stressed. And my other affected friend um was good enough or better enough to realize that he probably didn't mean it and it wasn't personal. He was just stressed and then the conflict was over. And for Maria and James's case, active listening would have meant Maria was really hearing James's concern for quality and James tuning into Maria's feelings na she was hurt.
Oh, so this reminds me of something, a book called Surrounded by Idiots, which basically classifies people into four different personality types, like reds, who are direct and dominant, yellows, who are inspiring and social, greens, who are stable and team oriented, and blues, who are analytical and detail focused. Basically, the idea is that to learn how to deal with each type's mindsets, behaviors, and communication styles. So we're all just idiots to someone else if we don't adopt our style. So I think that it's pretty spot on for conflicts because adapting to those personalities help avoid misunderstandings like Maria and James had. Now, what can leaders do to create a culture of open communication so that small disagreements don't turn into bigger issues? Miguel?
Uh, I think leaders should set the tone. Uh, for instance, they can start by um, remodeling it themselves, like um, acting as the model, being the actual leader and leading the team. And in real life, companies like Google use psychological safety training where teams practice open dialogue.
Mm.
And in terms of students, student team leaders, it's about simple rules like no interrupting or anonymous feedback boxes and preventing those tiny problems become bigger issues in the future.
We've all experienced miscommunication at some point, and I agree with that. Moving on, what are some common barriers that makes conflicts worse, and how can teams work through them, Miguel?
Barriers. I think um, assumptions are really huge. Like James assuming Maria couldn't handle all the tech stuff, and our cultural differences and language gaps, or even um, the when texting, you have these small text tones really
Mm-mm.
affect them. Um, Teams can work through it by using the I statements like I feel undervalued when you do this, when you do
Mm.
that, instead of you always do this, you always do that, you always do this.
Yeah.
It just shows a very empathetic way of stating your feelings.
Mm-mm.
And I read a study from the American Psychological Association shows that emotional intelligence reduces workplace conflicts by 25%.
Yeah, for sure. And finally, I would like to add that in resolving conflict through healthy communication, it would not only fix the issue at hand, but actually makes teams stronger in the long run. So when Maria and James talked it out, they didn't just fix the project. They built trust and learned each other's strengths. So the teams get resilient and innovative even. So yeah, healthy communication turns conflicts into growth opportunities. Okay, so wrapping things up, Migs, what are the key insights from our chat?
I think the key insight or the key things from what we've discussed in this podcast is that the key to picking communication is key to having a good team and picking out problems made by that stated team. And stuff like active listening, open cultures, and busting barriers to your team can lead to stronger team bonds. And from Maria and James's case, we can see that talking it out actually builds bonds.
Mm, so actionable advice for leaders today and tomorrow. We should start small, like practicing the I statements, encouraging listening without judgment, and remember, future leaders make communication your power.
Thanks for tuning in and goodbye.
Okay lang yun.
Wait lang, i-end doon na to ang recording kasi maganon.